Hi, so I think we are live. This is my second stream. So yeah, I'm still getting used to it. And I wanted to continue the development of the application that I'm making. This is an about page for myself. I've started to make this some videos, and I want to have them displayed on a web page, sort of like a resume or something like that. Last time and let me share my screen. So that's me. I'm gonna hide this. So last time we finished installing Tailwind CSS, and Tailwind is this. Also, last time I didn't put this in in a large screen. Yeah, so last time we saw how to use Tailwind and how it was working on the application that we're making. So if you can see here, these are Tailwind classes that give the tag their CSS style. So this text says home and is red and it's large, 3XL. So and that's already working. And let me put here, I just wanted to make sure auto prefix there should always be on the bottom, and this is the post CSS config.js. I'm also posting these videos on YouTube if you want to check the previous session. So yeah, so we were here. Let me show you how it looks. So npm run dep, and this opens on localhost 3000. It's gonna build for a while, and let me make this also large. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna close the email just in case that's making my computer super slow. Not very great. Okay, doesn't matter. So here it's loading. It's not okay. It's building. It's compiling, and it should be available right now. Okay, and we can see the home, and it's red and it's large, and that's coming from the index.js and index red 600, which this is the color and this is the size of the text. So yeah, we were here. But one thing that when I started this, it was like, okay, I'm gonna start making my page. But one step that usually I don't see a lot in tutorials or anything, it's how you design actually your site. Because now we have Tailwind and we are pretty sure that we can make anything happen, because that's Tailwind is really great and it's really easy to implement any kind of UI that you want. However, what are we going to implement, right? So that's why I wanted to also go through the process of creating the UI. So I'm gonna open Adobe XD, which I think it's really great. It's really easy to make anything that you want. Even recently I'm using it instead of Illustrator or something like that. So basically what we're going to do in Adobe XD is putting the initial design, and we're going to implement that on Tailwind. So I'm gonna go to web, just the default size. So this is going to be my web page, and what I want is maybe to have my picture here, like really big, where it's going to be my a profile picture, and maybe we can put it something like a shadow or something, so it's kind of like floating. And we're going to remove the border. Yeah, so I think that will look good. Be aware that here it's going to be a picture, right? And maybe then I want to create some sort of menu. So maybe that can be here. With different parts of the of my website. So I'm not gonna do this menu right now, but I just want to later off like what they call the mockup, to like go around and see how you're going to implement some things. So yeah, so here's the profile picture. Here's where we're going to have like a nav bar or something like that. Maybe it can be like in the middle, really simple, just text. But just let's draw that rectangle there, and later we can program and design something more elaborated. And yeah, so basically what I want is I'm making videos, right? So I'm probably going to have like videos like that, and with a little bit of text here, like I don't know if I'm just going to write a lot of things. Yeah, and probably that can be a description or something like that. And yeah, so that's probably going to be under the main image, and this is going to be an image, and or maybe it can be an embedded video player, whatever you like. But for now, I think I'm just going to put an image here, which is going to go to the actual website where the video is hosted, which in my case is Facebook and YouTube. So yeah. And one really cool thing that you can do here, maybe you can group this with Command J, and what you can do is make this a grid. So if you can see, you can just go and it's going to appear more of the same things. Right, so that's what we want. So I'm gonna start posting my videos in my personal website, and what I want it to happen is to look something like this, right? We don't have the design, we don't have colors yet, but that's for getting started and to know how to get started in making the layout in Tailwind CSS. Yeah, so I think that looks okay. I mean, it could look better. Maybe you can make some more space here and move the whole thing to the center. Yeah, and even make this more like a title maybe. So we can just reduce the amount of letters in here. But maybe it can be like that. Maybe that's too large. Oh yeah, so like that, and I don't know, let's make it bold. Yeah, here. So bold. Yeah, so I think that's, I mean, it's not great for sure. That's basically a circle and some rectangles in there. But that, I usually do this like to have a clear idea of what I'm doing. Normally, I wouldn't do this type of thing on XD. When I go to XD, I try to be more like in XD I should choose the colors and should choose the images that I want and the graphics that I want and everything. And usually this stage I just write it in, I draw it in a paper, and I think that's really the best way to do so. But for now I think we're doing just fine. So let me get started with making this image circle, which I don't remember how it's done, so that's going to be fun. So basically we have the main page, which is going to be this div here. I don't know if we need something in particular out of this div, like maybe make it like full height of the web page. At least this has to have a margin in here. So I'm not gonna make anything to the parent div, but we can do that if that's necessary later. And then we have this part, the nav bar, and then we have like the main grid. And if you can see, we can divide this 3 sets of UI in boxes, right? So a large box for the circle here, another box for the nav bar, and another box for the grid here. So I think that's what we are going to do. So let's make 3 divs here. My computer is super slow. Yeah, okay. Let's just copy paste this. Yeah, so this is going to be the image, the circle image. This is going to be the navbar, and this is going to be the grid. So let's start with what's inside of the image, and this is the only part that I'm going to do today. So I guess we're going to check Tailwind's documentation about this, but let's just start with an image in here. So it's going to start with an empty source. Yeah, and let's just close that. We should always have an alt due to accessibility. That's a good practice. Yeah, so we need the image, which I don't have right now. So let's just use some and Pexel is really great. Those are free to use for commercial and personal use. And another one that's really good, it's Unsplash. Yeah. So those 2 sites have great stock images that you can just use, and you can credit, and you should credit the authors, but it's not mandatory, and you can use it for both professional and commercial sites, personal sites, sorry. So yeah, let's just look for whatever profile. Let's just look for a profile picture. It's better if it's like a square. That's going to make the things a lot easier for us. But we don't have anything here. Maybe if we do face. Yeah, so this pictures look square to me. Yeah, let's use this one. I don't know why it's trying to. Okay, and since we're not going to use this, we're not going to do anything of this. But if you do use this and you end up like publishing any of this, like you should at least tweet about it. I think that's a great deal. So I'm gonna put like profile picture, and just to check like how do we want that to end up. Like XD has like this awesome feature where you can just like drag it to where you want it to be, but it's going to automatically crop it and everything. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, this is basically what we want to do in Tailwind. Yeah, so let's get started. We probably should optimize the image here because it's probably super large and it's going to take like maybe 200 pixels at most on the web page, and this is like 2 megabytes. Like, don't do this ever. But right now we won't do that, but it should be optimized for sure. So I'm just going to go to the profile, to the to our project, and I'm going to place this on the public folder, which is, it does what it says. It's the public folder that you can access from your application, and here you can put your images, your favicons, and whatnot. I mean, you could also put like your CSS, but NextJS has a better way to do so. So yeah. So that's what we want. We have the picture and they're just the site. So yeah, since it's on the public, that's going to be on the origin, and I think we can just do like profile picture that I guess is JPEG, but let's just check just in case. Yeah, so it's profile picture that JPEG. Yeah, I think we're good. So that should make the image appear. If this was running, but it's not, so I have to start the dev server. So now we should only see one image here, and the home tags and the about link should be gone because we deleted those. So it's compiled, it's going to reload. It's reloading. It's taking a while. It's probably building right now. It should be done. Yeah, so let's just stop this and reload. That's weird. Also, I don't know if it's because my computer is super slow. Yeah, okay, so the image is super large, like we thought so, because it's like 2 megabytes, and we don't, and we only want this like to take a fraction of that. But for now, we're just going to leave it like that, and we're just going to apply Tailwind CSS. We're going to do this because you should not always rely on the image, because like let's get real, the simplest way to do this will be to edit the picture right the way you want it to. Like, I could export this even with the shadow effects in there, but you don't want that, because what happens if you publish this and you start like having people use this source code? It's not going to look like you want it to, because people are not going to edit their pictures, right? So that's one reason why we are going to do this like entirely on Tailwind. So I'm guessing, and we're going to check the documentation right now, that we're going to need to both create some styles for both the parent element and the image, and maybe we're going to need to leave this alone and create another parent here to make the circle, but let's just check. Like I said on my first video, it's not like I'm going to have like all the answers and going to go through everything like I'm some sort of wizard, because that's not how it works in real life, right? Because you always get stuck and you do some things. So I'm gonna check the documentation. So this is Tailwind, and we probably can look like for image to see what we can do there. So locking images to fix cropping and positioning images. That sounds a lot like what we are trying to do. Okay, so it's a course. It's 3 minutes long. Let's not do that. But probably there's the answer. So we're going to just like make it so complicated. Anyways, let's go to documentation and images. These are resources. What can we see here? So this is about the defaults that Tailwind does to reset everything. And you know what? Let's just check. Because if it's there, like, there's no reason. And I don't remember how to do so. what we can check here is the source code and to see how Adam Wadman, who is the creator of Tailwind, has done so. So it should be like in source, maybe. Oh, you have components here. And where, I don't know if it's programmed on the main page or where. So
now we've been allowing this image's sort of intrinsic aspect ratio to control how tall and how wide it is in the browser. But say we wanted to give this image a very specific height and a specific width. How can we pull that off without introducing any sort of scaling artifacts? Let's explore. So I'm going to add some classes to this image to sort of force it to be a different size. So why don't we give it a height of, say, like 64, just a value from Tailwind spacing scale, and a width of full, just to force it to a specific size. Okay, so now the image is a lot taller and it's sort of stretched out. We can sort of exaggerate this effect by maybe making it really short, like H16. Now you can see it's really distorted as it's stretched really wide. Let's set this back to something a little bit more reasonable so we can sort of see the effect of what we're about to do. Okay, so at H32, this is still pretty distorted, but we can kind of see pretty clearly what's going on at least. So if we want to tell the browser how exactly to render this image, given this sort of fixed shape that it needs to render it in, we can do so using the object fit CSS property. And so it exposes that property through a bunch of object fit utilities. For example, we could do object contain, and this will tell the browser to make sure that it can show the full image without any scaling, constraining it to whatever the sort of overall shape is that we're trying to fit it in. Similarly, we can use object cover, which says cover the entire area, but still don't distort the image. Object cover is the one I find myself needing most often, and it's the one that we'd want to use in this case. Now by default, object cover is going to center the contents of the image in the area that we're trying to display it. We can also customize that if we'd like to using the object position utilities. So right now the default is object center. So this is just going to look exactly like it did before. But if we wanted to anchor this to the top, we could say object top, and now it's always going to show the top of the image and cut off the bottom. Similarly, we can do object bottom, which will always show the bottom and cut off the top. We can also do stuff like object left or object right, but because of how this image is being cropped in this particular case, we're not actually going to see those have any effect. Let's delete this utility since we don't actually need it and set the height back to something reasonable, maybe something like H48. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good shape for this image. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that IE11 does not support object fit or object position. So if you need to support anything other than evergreen browsers, you might need to use a different solution. The best solution that works with IE11 in my experience is to use a background image instead of a regular image. So what we could do is we could add a div here. And we could give this div the same classes that we have on the image in terms of the actual dimensions. So we can say H48, and it's going to be width full by the image. Image, URL, image. But this time instead of object cover.
Okay, I think we have our answer. And as you could see that, that's Adam Watman talking. Tailwind is really great. Yeah, so we can basically just use the, and let me show you this. So you can just put a height here, and he has like H1, H-2. That's not a dash, is it? I don't remember. And basically that translates to the default settings. So you can have a height of 4, 5, and so on and so forth. So for this particular case, we maybe want like 10, like an H10 and a width of 10. And this is probably just going to make this like a square. Yeah, a really small square. And we probably want it larger. Yeah, so let's do 30, 40. Let's try with 40 to see how it looks. Yeah, I think that's better. As you can see, the image wasn't perfectly square, and that's why we are seeing it like it's a stretch out on the vertical axis. We're going to deal with that in a second, but right now I think that's the size that we want. Now, how do we make it a circle? And that's a something that I really don't remember how to do so, but let's try this. Let's try looking for a circle. And we can see border radius, and okay, and this is going to be interesting. So what do you think it's going to happen if we put like around it class to this profile picture that we're making? And let's just check, because yeah, so rounded LG large should put 0.5 rem to the border radius, and we probably want the full one because we want it like a circle, but let's just check. Okay, yeah, as you can see, we had done so. We can see the little things here, and that's the border radius. So what I'm going to do is just going to use the full one and to check what happens. And we have a circle, and that's awesome, right? The only thing that we need to fix is the fact that the image is stretched out. If someone puts an image that it's not square, it's going to look bad. So maybe we can do object cover. Yeah, and then we can see how it's done. So I think that looks pretty good. We can maybe add the shadow here, and let's just look in the shadow here on Tailwind CSS. So shadow, I think that's the default value. Let's just check how it looks. So shadow, I didn't save. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that on the stream, but there is like a really smooth, really small shadow there. Maybe we want it to look like more a larger shadow there. So maybe we can do cover shadow large. Last time we only had shadow, so that's a little bit better. I don't know if you can see it on the stream, but in here you can definitely see it. So compared to what we wanted, maybe we should make it a little bit smaller. And also one really important thing is that this image should be on the center, on the horizontal axis. So that's two things that we need to do. So we can probably check the height value here that Tailwind gives us. So we can do 40 and 32, which I think it's fine. I think it's going to look just as we want it. And let's just check. Awesome. Yeah, that's more like our initial design. And I changed my mind. I'm going to do a more prominent shadow here. So maybe 2XL. I think that's the largest shadow, default shadow that Tailwind, yeah, 2XL. So it's going to look like this. Even XL, I think it should be fine. Yeah, let's do XL. And the last thing we need to do, yeah, so again, I don't know if in the stream you can see this, but that's definitely better. So maybe I can do just like a zoom here, and I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, that's definitely better. So yeah, and the next thing that we need to do, it's put it on the center and put it a little bit of margin to the top. So let's first align this to the center. And one really cool thing about CSS and the new grid and flex layouts that we are seeing, it's really awesome. So right now we are not going to use grid, only flex. And I don't think Tailwind has some utility classes for grid. But if Tailwind doesn't have any grid things, you can either put your own defaults there, or you can just like use the style JSX that I was talking about. And even if you're not on NextJS, you can use like normal styles for the grid part, and then use the Tailwind classes, utility classes for that. So if we make this a flex and we need to justify the items inside to the center, that should probably align it. And that's weird. Oh, I had it zoomed there. Yeah, so the reason why it didn't look like I was on the center is because I did this, like I was zooming in. Yeah, but we don't want that. So yeah. So we can see there that it's aligned to the center. So yeah, that's really cool. And we just did like flex to make this div a flex. And a flex basically puts everything, whether it's like on to the X or to the Y. access, and every item inside the flex is just going to accommodate as you told it to. Like if we put here like an H1, even though an H1 normally has like it's on its own line, here it's going to be on the side of the image. So maybe you can like this is text or something like that. Yeah, so you can see that everything's going to be put right one after the other. So it's really cool to make layouts. And before, I remember that we needed to, you don't really need it to, but it was easier like to use something like Bootstrap or anything like that. And sometimes I ended up like using Bootstrap just for the layout thing, but still you have to have like the whole library. So I think that's really cool, although Bootstrap is still a very nice framework. But yeah, so Tailwind, just flex, justify center, and everything's on the center. And here we have a decision to make, which is where should we put the margin here. And we could put it to the parent here. So we can put it here. Or we could put it in the image. Now, this is it depends on your design system, and that's where you're going to have some guidelines as to, okay, you should always put the margin on the children's, okay, or you should always put it on the parent. So let's say that this was not an image in here, but it was it's a component that you are importing from the components folder, which we don't have right now, but we can create one, and we are going to. But if it's a component, then it's not a good practice to put the margin on the image, because you don't know, the component doesn't know where it's going to be. So you can either import the component and put something that you can pass as a prop to tell the image how much margin it should have, or you can put a margin on the parent, or maybe you can just like create another div in here, and that depends. Right now it doesn't really matter because everything is on the same page, but let's just assume that we are going to make this image a component, because maybe we are going to use it somewhere else. If that's the case, then we should like probably the width and the height should not be here, because what happens if we want to make this like a little small profile picture on the side, then probably we should extract that information to where the parent and make it a prop. So that's probably the best thing that we should do, like to put this as a component and make some props to tell it like the size and everything. Since we're going to try to leave this as clean as possible for now, but let's put the margin on the parent. And I think for now that's the best thing to do if we want to leave like the image as clean as possible. So let's check how do we do margins in Tailwind. And here we have it, like margin 8 is going to be 2 RAM, margin 48 is going to be 12 RAM, and so on and so forth. And but that's for the all sides, right? It's going to be for the top, bottom, left, and right. And we don't want that in this case, so we can do X. And what X means is going to do a margin on the right and the left. And we can also do MY, which is going to do like X it did to the left and the right, and Y is going to do on the top, on the bottom. And you can see here like what specifically what classes are being used. So if we do MY1, this is going to be margin top and margin bottom at 0.25 rem. But we just want it for the top right now. So we can do T for top. We can do T, R for right, and B for bottom, and L for left. We just want the margin on the top, so let's do MT. And I think an MT20 should be around what we need. So let's do MT20. And let's just save this and refresh. Yeah, so I think probably not exactly like the same distances, but we have the overall idea, right? So yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to leave this right now. I really want to finish really fast, but I don't always find the time to do this live streams. But yeah, so let me know if you found this like any helpful, if I should improve something. I'm still learning. I'm not a Twitch expert or a video expert or anything, but what I wanted to do is to share what I was doing, and yeah, so like basically do my own projects live, so maybe people can learn something or at least hang out or whatever. So yeah, I think that's good. Let me really, I really want to know like what's your opinion on this. Like I told you, I'm not like an expert live streamer, and I'm not like a expert code teacher, even though I've done so, but in a completely different format, like where you can actually prepare slides and do this and do that and do everything. I haven't I never done something like I just stream what I was doing, so it's really weird. Yeah, but I'm glad it turned out okay. At some point I was worried that we were not going to do like the circle thing, even though it's like really easy, but I got really nervous. Yeah, so I was like I was telling you, I'm not an expert. Like you see here, this is not even like a real thing for the microphone. Yeah, so let me know what you think. I'm really enjoying doing this type of things, and I hope you find some value to it. But if you don't, let me know how I can make it more interesting. I know it's probably no one watching, or very few people, and I still don't know how to check my stream while I'm streaming. The thing is, if I have Twitch open, it's not going to go well, because my machine, it's a MacBook Pro, but it's like from, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago. So yeah, so it gets really warm, it gets really slow, but yeah, please let me know, and if you have any suggestions, I'll be happy to read them. I'm posting these videos also on YouTube, and the channel name is Coding with Ale, like the same name that you're seeing here, except with spaces instead of just like the camel cases. And yeah, so I had a really great time once more, And yeah, so hopefully we can see each other soon.